Are you naked? Sounds like a silly question, but it's probably not a question you've asked yourself lately, at least not in this context. So, I want to talk to you today a little bit about the importance of your covering and making sure that you are aware of it and utilizing it to the fullest potential and using it to make your life better. We are in a season of change, people. Change is all around us. Things are changing politically, things are changing socially, and each one of us personally is going through some form of change. We've heard a lot of people talking about how difficult 2016 was as a year for a lot of people. Difficult for me. As I'm sure you've probably gone through some things in the last year as well. But as we are embarking on something new, it's important that you remember the importance of your covering. Some of you may be expecting a change, a new job, a career change, retirement, a new business opportunity, expecting a new child, or a new relationship. And that is great. All of those are wonderful things, but they also mean that you need to make sure you're covered as you go into these changes. Some of you are shedding, what I like to call shedding the weight, dealing with toxic relationships and getting out of those, depression issues, anger, grief. A lot of people lost people that were dear to them in 2016, and that's a process. Some of you are about to go through major change and you don't even know it yet. And that's why it is important for you to watch this video to the very end. You may be thinking, I'm good where I am. I'm not expecting any change. I'm happy with my life. That's great. But one thing about change is that it is usually unexpected. So you have to be prepared in advance for that change so that when it comes, you know what to do and you know how to take care of yourself. For years, I tried to be successful without a covering, and it didn't work that well for me in the beginning. I went into a field that was a dying field, journalism, and I learned pretty quickly. Not quickly, I would say maybe halfway through my degree process, that was not what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. So I started seeking nonprofit work and working with children, and I experimented in some different areas to try to find my niche and what I was passionate about. I ended up working for one of the largest nonprofits in the United States, and I loved it. You know, I entered in as an entry level employee straight out of college, pretty much, and I worked my way up. And when I left, in my transition to be a full time mom and homemaker, I was a director. And I had to learn a lot of things through trial and error. I apologize, you guys. The phone is ringing. I'm gonna let it ring for a couple of minutes and then I'll keep talking. Sorry about that. So, I had to learn that I couldn't operate as two different people. I could not be successful in my career life, accomplish the things I wanted to accomplish, and at the same time have my spiritual life be out there separate from me. I had to marry those two things, walk in unity with myself to be completely successful. And you'll find that as you master the art of being covered and not being naked, and marrying your practical life and your work and career life and your family life with your spiritual life, they start to become one and the same, and there is no conflict. There are some people out there that led you to believe that being a person of faith is a conflict. It does not have to be a conflict. In my life, it is definitely not a conflict. It was more of a conflict when I was trying to do things without faith. So, you're responsible. We are all responsible for our own covering. I can't expect my pastor to cover me and my husband and my parents and my grandparents. Yes, they may pray for me and they might do those things and feel it's their duty to do those things, but that's not their responsibility. It is my responsibility to cover myself. Once I have that wisdom and understanding and that faith growing on the inside of me, I have to cover myself. So that's one thing, to make sure you have top of mind at all times. You are your own covering. And be consistent. Practice is everything. Luke 16:10 talks about that. Pray about everything and anything. Nothing's too small, nothing's too large. However, you have to start with where you are faith wise. Believing God for a good parking space when you're running late in the morning, to believing God that your spouse gets home safe when the roads are icy and it's raining really hard. Those are all different measures of faith and different measures of belief, but you have to exercise each step along the way to grow into bigger faith. So before you can step into this transition in this new period of your life and going into these changes, have you believed God and have you had faith for the little things along the way? It's important to exercise that consistently, daily, hourly. The more you practice it, the more important it becomes because it just becomes part of who you are, just like breathing, it becomes natural. And don't wait for a storm to reach for that armor. Ephesians 6:11 through 17 talks about that, the importance of covering yourself in those different areas as far as the word and prayer. And um, we have the habit as humans, being imperfect that we are, to look for prayer in the time of desperate need, but look for it when things are going smooth. Look for prayer and, faith and, spending time in those areas when things are great. Because when they get hard, it'll make it even easier. 2016 was a hard year for me, a hard year for my family. I lost my brother Christmas of 2015, so I started the year without my brother, who's a year younger than me. So that was hard, and it was an unexpected death. And dealing with other family issues going on, and some of those issues are still going on to this day. And I've changed as a person, and I've learned a lot about myself, but I've also had a prayer life prior to that happening. I had a faith life prior to that happening. So when it did happen unexpectedly, I knew where to go. I knew where my help was going to come from. I didn't have to search for it. I didn't have to question it. It was already there for me. And that is the key of having that covering. You don't wait till it rains to run to the store and buy a raincoat. You have one in your closet just in case. That's what your faith life is for. You have it there. It's exercised. It's been used. You know it works. And it's there for when you have that time of need. Another thing in this climate, you hear a lot of people saying, well, why would God do this or not do that? Or why would this person do this and not do that? This person doesn't care about me, or this person politically doesn't care about us, or whatever's being said about whoever and wherever. But listen, you are in control of your own success. Doesn't matter who the president is, it doesn't matter who your legislators are. You have a hand in affecting some of those things, but they are not the controllers of your life. You are. You wake up every morning and decide whether you're going to get out of bed. You wake up every morning and decide whether you're going to work. You wake up in the morning and decide whether you're going to have a good day or a bad day, or let the troubles of the world get you down. You wake up every day and you decide what kind of parent you're going to be, what kind of wife or husband you're going to be. So don't let what's going on around you, what's going on the outside, affect you. And that's also important when you think about a covering. Your covering is going to shield you from some of the crazy, and you're going to need that. I can remember situations in the workplace where literally, this person's having an argument with that person, and this is going on over here, and everybody's afraid they're going to get fired, and because there's cutbacks and all of this, and I'd be sitting in my office, typing and working, and somebody would come by and be like, oh my gosh, aren't you nervous? No, because the way I looked at it right now in this moment, I have a job, and I have a job to do, and this report is due tomorrow, and I need to focus on this. If I get laid off tomorrow, then I get laid off tomorrow and I'll deal with that tomorrow. But right now, I have a job. I can't worry about something that hasn't happened. A lot of what we worry about, a lot of what keeps us up at night, a lot of what brings us turmoil and strife and difficulty are the things that go on up here. They're not happening outside our door. They are not happening when we get on the road and go to work. They are happening in our heads, and we think and we worry about it, and we spend energy on it, and we talk about it, and it becomes the thing that rules our thought process and the thing that paints our day, good or bad. So please don't be so focused on what is going on around you, but be focused on what you can control. And when I started to live in that realm and that area of what can I control, then I started to actually see positive change because little by little I would focus on the one thing in a situation I could control. I would focus on my attitude. I would focus on the words that come out of my mouth. I would focus on my prayer life and making sure I had an understanding of the word. And I would focus on how I was treating people. And that made positive change. And I'll talk a little bit more about, some practical ways to marry your spiritual with your practical, um, and not spending a lot of time trying to be two people. It's as simple as that. I would go to work and I learned pretty quickly that whatever boundaries were going to be in place were going to be the ones I set. So when it came to my faith life in particular, I had a particular night that I went to Bible study, and that was really important to me. So I made sure it was known and it was on my calendar, and everyone knew that within reason, of course, I have this night where I leave on time. I can't stay late. I can't take on extra responsibilities on this night because I got to go because I have a Bible study. And what I started to notice, I didn't walk around work with my Bible, okay? Be reasonable, people. I was authentically who I am. I tried to be a good person every day. I tried to live what I had been learning every day, and people saw that in me. I didn't advertise it, I didn't brag about it, didn't talk about it, but people saw that in me. And you start to realize that people see it in you with the conversations they want to have with you, when they want to come in your office and close the door and confide in you and ask you to pray for them, or when, for example, I'd be in a room full of people and somebody across the room would curse, and they would stop what they're doing and look at me and go, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Why are you apologizing to me? You curse in front of everybody. Why are you apologizing to me?" But what I realized was I had set an example and portrayed myself in such a way consistently, because that's who I wasn't pretending, that people tended to hold me to a different standard. And that's what you want. You want to be a light in the world. You want to be a positive in your sphere of influence. And your sphere of influence does not have to just be a workplace. It could be in a relationship, it could be in your family. Your sphere of influence may be um, where you volunteer. If you're a mom or a stay at home mom, you're in the lives of your children and even your children's friends. You don't know who's watching you. So, marrying those two things together, it helps you be more consistent. It makes it easier for you to set boundaries for yourself. And it also sets the pace for how other people are going to treat you and how other people are going to behave around you. So that is something I found very helpful, and it actually made. I thought it was going to make things harder to be openly, a Christian and be in the workplace and it be known, especially when I was around people that weren't Christian. But it actually made a lot of things easier. So that fear you have about being looked at funny or being judged, people are going to judge you anyway. So you might as well be judged for something that is a positive rather than, be something you're doing horribly, wrong. Um, and keep a reminder in front of you. I purposed to always have some things around that reminded me of my faith. So when things got tough, when I got frustrated, when I even got angry, and maybe was tempted to act out of character, I had that thing to go, "Oh, right, that's right. I'm supposed to be thinking like this." So I don't have it with me, but for example, I had a little frame and I got it from the dollar store, so it doesn't have to be, going out and spending a lot of money. And it said, something, I can't remember which scripture it was, but it was something about trusting in the Lord. And it was very small, and I set it next to my computer at work. So whenever I was sitting at my desk typing on my computer, it was sitting right there. So it was a constant visual reminder for me. I've known people that have worn bracelets to remind them of their faith, or with a scripture or a saying or a quote. I've known people to have daily devotional like calendars sitting on their desks or something like that with a thought for the day to keep them in thought, and in faith. I've also had posters or pictures or letters posted that remind me of something. So do that. Keep it before you. If you drive a lot and you're in your car, you can put something on your dashboard or something right by your radio dial to keep you in remembrance of your faith and what you're trying to accomplish. Take your favorite scripture and put it somewhere visible. Put it on your bathroom mirror. Whatever you have to do to keep it before you. Because what's out of sight is out of mind. You're not going to do or act on something that you're not constantly being reminded of. And studies show it takes, I believe, 30 or 40 days to form a new habit. So after doing it for 30 or 40 days, it'll start to become natural to you, but you have to do it consistently for at least that amount of time for it to stick and become a part of who you are. And also being authentic, and I talked a little bit about that a minute ago, but being authentic before others is so key so that you aren't asked to compromise constantly. Um, I'm not knocking people that do, okay? This is my personal decision for a lot of reasons, but I don't drink, and a lot of reasons I don't drink are also health reasons. But I don't drink. I just can't. My body doesn't respond to alcohol well. So, yeah, it was one of the things I cut out. And, I don't teeter back and forth on that. I don't drink. It's like, it's not a big thing. I don't make a big thing about it. I can sit around with people that are drinking beers. It doesn't bother me, but I don't drink. So people don't ask me to drink. People don't invite me to go drink. And if they're having a function, I remember there was a celebration once and, they were making mimosas for everyone. And they were like, oh, but we got, some sparkling grape juice for you. So, people don't ask me to do things that they know are against, who I am, because I'm consistent in that and I haven't compromised and they don't expect me to compromise. And that's a blessing really. Because I'm a loving person, I'm a caring person. I love people genuinely from the bottom of my heart. I want to share what I have and what I know with people, and that's the part of me that shines. I think being a Christian has woven so intricately into who I am that people don't see me and think, "Oh, well that's Stephanie and she's a Christian, so that means she doesn't do this and she doesn't do this and she doesn't." People don't even think of me like that. They just think of me as Stephanie. I am who I am. Which reminds me of someone, and I'll share this example. Um, with being in transition, often how much grace you're going to have for that transition and that new phase of your life is going to come from how comfortable you are with your relationship with the Lord and with your faith life. If you're rocky in that area, sometimes that transition is going to be a lot rockier too because you're going to have more opposition and more struggle, and a lot of that struggle is going to be internal. I used to know a lady at a place I used to work years ago, and she made it known to everybody that she was a Christian, older lady, probably in her 60s, and she was one of the meanest people I'd ever met in my life. And that stuck with me for so many years because I was like, man, I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be so stuck up and holier than thou that I'm unapproachable, that I'm so judgmental of other people that nobody wants to talk to me, that I seem so focused on making sure everybody knows I'm a Christian and I don't do this and I don't do that and you shouldn't either, that um, I have no friends. You know what I mean? And she was a very mean, not nice person, very judgmental. She was not a pleasurable person to work with. I don't think I ever saw her smile. She didn't have joy of the Lord at all. So I always remember her because I when I did give my life to the Lord fully and I became a Christian, intentionally. I thought, man, I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be so rigid and so religious that the life is sucked out of me. So even though I've gone through some transitions in the last year, I'm still smiling. I'm still happy. People are always surprised, like, oh my gosh, I know you're going through this or you're going through that. How are you feeling? And I'm like, I'm good. I'm operating by faith. Yes, it hurts. Yes, I've cried. Yes, I've gotten angry. Yes, I've gotten frustrated with some things, but I'm operating in faith. And I know that I'm going through changes now, and I'll go through more changes, and after that, there'll be more changes. But how I react to those changes is going to have a big influence of how those changes play out in my life and how they affect my life. So, the last thing I'm going to say is related to a video I posted maybe a couple months ago, maybe a month ago. I did a video on insulating your life, which is really, 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 really important because insulating your life is in a time of change is like air. It's like breathing. I give you an example. So I have herbs outside. I grow some herbs, not that kind, basil, and I get fresh basil when it's warm out. It's wonderful. I can go out, pick it when I want, and incorporate it in my cooking. But as soon as that first frost hits, my basil starts to whizzle up and die, and I have to insulate it. I either need to bring the plant indoors or cover it with plastic or something to save it from the elements. And that's exactly what happens to us in life. It gets cold, it gets frigid, the sun doesn't come out, and then we shrivel up and die because we struggle in that atmosphere. And until that weather passes, until the sun comes back and the warmth comes back, we don't thrive again. But the key is to make preparations for your life during those difficult times, during those transitions, even if it's a happy transition. And I talked about having a baby, having a 19-month-old that's still fresh on my mind. You prepare for that child, and you do things so that when they arrive they have what they need, and you work on that and you're purposeful about it. And that's exactly how it is when you're walking in purpose and doing something new or experiencing something new. You start to prepare and you start to lay the groundwork and the foundation and do what you can do to prep as much as possible, sort of like birthing a baby or expecting a baby. You're going to lay the foundation, you're going to prep. So there's three things you absolutely have to do when you're going through a major change or transition in life is insulate yourself. And insulation is not isolation, as I talk about in my video more detailed. It just means that you're protecting yourself during this time so that you can get the optimal opportunity to grow and flourish and not wither up during that process, because it may drain you and there may be a lot of pulling on your energy and your time. Number one, insulate your dreams and your plans. That just means that whatever you envision to do, whatever you envision to accomplish, you can't necessarily trust that vision with everyone. I'm sorry. It's true. It's sad. But, whether you're buying a house or, building a business or, thinking about having a baby or whatever, sometimes there's certain parts of that vision you have to keep to yourself. And I'll give you an example. When me and my husband were expecting our daughter, we knew what we were going to name her. We went back and forth between three names, and then we decided the name. And we knew what we were going to name her, I think, by the time I was 5 or 6 months pregnant. And people were frustrated with us because they wanted us to tell them what her name was going to be. And her name has very special meaning to us in our family. And I didn't want her name just to be thrown out there, because I've heard, stories of people like stealing baby names and things like that. I mean, it's a name, but I wanted it to be the name we gave her, for it to be, when we introduce her to the world, for that name to also be introduced to everyone and it to be a special thing. And people couldn't understand that. But to me, it was, this is our dream. This is what we've prayed for. We're bringing this baby into the world, and we want to protect that part of who she is until she's actually here. So when you have dreams and you have plans, you can't share it with everybody. You just can't. Sometimes you have to be a little tight-lipped and quiet until that dream comes to reality. I'll give you another example of that. I had the opportunity to, buy a home, and I was getting some negative feedback from a family member, and I had to stop telling them about details about our home buying process because they were not being positive and they weren't being supportive. So until we bought the house, I stopped talking about it with that person until we had done everything and the paperwork was done and the purchase was made. So you may have to do that. Insulating your relationships, just surround yourself with positive people. Surround yourself with people that are for you, people that want the best for you, people that are like-minded in faith. Not saying you can't hang around people that aren't faith people, but it'll make your life easier if you have more faith people around you. And sometimes you have to be intentional and seek that out. Connecting with people that you gel well with. Even now over the internet, I follow a few ladies online that I feel spiritually connected to, that lift me up and help me out when I'm a little lost or frustrated with something. So you can do that. You can definitely do that. and pray about that. I, went through something with my husband a couple years ago where I prayed for him to have some godly male influences. His father's no longer here; he passed away. So I felt like he was struggling in that area. So I had to pray about that. And lo and behold, God sent some people into his life that he relates to well and can talk to on a social level, and that's helped him spiritually as well. Also, insulate your learning. You can't read, watch, listen to anything and everything. As you're going through your transition, this is true for life in general, but especially when you're going through a transitional period, you need to spend more of your time in the Word, more of your time listening to positive things, more of your time hearing. Things that are going to lift you up. And if you're in a situation where you're learning something new, a new job, a new field, spend time in your learning more about your field so you can be at the top of your game. Learn more about statistics, or read books, or whatever you have to do. So I don't believe in wasting my time. I get information thrown at me all the time. I get emails, people send me things they find interesting. I sift through that stuff, and if it's pertinent to me and what I'm going through, if it's pertinent to my purpose, if it's pertinent to me as a mother, or me and how I want to foster love and growth in my family, then I'll take a look. But if it's not, delete, and I have no problem doing that because I don't have time. I don't have time to watch a video 30 minutes to an hour on something that is not going to enrich my life. So I hope that helps. I know I went a lot longer on this video than I planned to. I wanted to keep it about 15 minutes. I think we're about 26 minutes right now. But as you go into this new year, you're in the new year already. As you go into this new phase of your life, whatever it may be, you've got an upcoming graduation. If you feel like you're starting to itch, feel like you need to make a change, you're not sure exactly what, sometimes that happens to me too. Just start preparing yourself. Prepare yourself spiritually. Pray about it. Start to get yourself in a positive headspace so when that change comes, you're already ready for it, you're open to it, and you can trust God through it. I hope that helps you. I believe and pray that you got something out of this video, that my words were enrichment to you in your life. I hope that you find your way through this season in a positive way. I hope that everything that comes your way is nothing but positivity and nothing but things that lift you up. And if they're not, I pray that you're able to just brush them off and keep it moving. I thank you for watching. If you have more questions about any of the stuff I talked about today, or if you need scriptural reference, you can comment below and I will definitely get that to you. Or send me a message if you're looking at this on my website. Thank you. God bless you. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.